this homelessness and rent camping impact reduction program. I've been working in the city to improve the way that this program operates since 2016. You have to pardon my voice. I've been talking a lot over the last 2 weeks, as you can imagine. Over the last 4 years, through trial and error and extensive community outreach and engagement and many late nights, HUCRP has developed a tiered intervention approach to meet both our objectives and further reduce the traumatization of one of Portland's most vulnerable populations. As the mayor stated earlier, we have learned that an organization who is willing to do this work needs to hire, support, and retain individuals who share life experiences with those living outside on Portland's streets today. We have found this in Rapid Response Biocleaning, and this price agreement now allows us to require trainings to match that rich lived experience with evidence-based engagement modalities. An example of which we will require certification from the Crisis Prevention Institute in nonviolent de-escalation. We will require ongoing trainings and assertive engagement with neurodiverse individuals, as well as CPR certification and how to properly administer naloxone. Other new components of this statement of work in this price agreement include severe weather duties, which was talked about earlier, which require teams to cease cleanup and removal and shift to assisting outreach teams in welfare checks, distributing blankets, hand warmers, and to even help with transportation to emergency warming shelters. Historically, this organization has done that because we've asked them, and now this is a contractual requirement. We have also articulated clear instructions about what property needs to be stored and have greatly improved the property retrieval process with the goal of making it easier for folks to get their stuff back. The contractor will also need to make...
Excuse me, Lucas, sorry to interrupt you. I know you're on a roll there. This is an area that I know a lot of community members are very, very concerned about when you are deciding what to store and what is not storable. What's the difference between this new contract and the previous contract as it relates to how you collect, label, and store community members' belongings in this process?
Thank you for the question. The previous contract was based on language in the Anderson Settlement Agreement, and that language was very squishy and very ambiguous. It stated that all items reasonably recognizable to be of utility and or apparent value needed to be stored. The way that this program operated, when I first got here, the goal was to store as little as possible. So after going out into the field, I saw property being thrown away that was nicely packed right under a tarp, but because it was wet, the decision was made that we're not going to store it. So working with the city attorney's office and the Oregon Law Center, we came up with a couple different lists of things that under no circumstance can we ever throw away unless they are literally dripping bio-waste, right? And then there's a list of things that under no circumstance can we store, things like propane tanks or combustibles or drugs or anything like that. Illegal, yeah. And so those two lists are now part of this contract. We've developed a system to make it more efficient in the field. So when a crew comes to a camp, we have learned that the amount of time they're there doing the inventory can create safety concerns. So while crews are in the field, we have a different colored bag system. So a clear plastic bag is for anything that could possibly be property, and a black garbage bag is for stuff that is clear garbage, candy wrappers and stuff. When that stuff gets scooped up, loaded into the truck and taken to our storage facility, where there's 3 full-time employees who spend 8 hours a day going through everything. Everything that we put our hands on has a picture of it, and it gets loaded into a spreadsheet. For sake of our due diligence to make sure that we're giving property back to the rightful owner, we ask folks to provide the location and the date of where their stuff was collected. Since we moved into the Southeast Portland location. We have about 4 to 6 property retrieval appointments a day. Historically, folks would have to get on the 12 bus and go almost all the way to Tigard. We would have maybe 1 or 2 appointments scheduled per month, and half of those people would actually show up. So it was clear to us that this wasn't working for anybody. And so with council's approval, we were able to enter into a lease with a very big warehouse. We are now making the onus on us to try to make it as easy as possible for people to get their stuff back. Yep. The contractor will also need to make, in this new statement of work, a qualified mental health associate available for crews in the field in emergency crisis situations, as well as conduct ongoing trainings for staff. And I believe the individual that Rapid Response is working with has also agreed to assist their staff in obtaining their peer support specialist certifications from the state of Oregon. I want to acknowledge the burden and the hardship this work can have on unsheltered Portlanders. No contract can eliminate all of those hardships, but this price agreement, statement of work, and the requirements therein point us in a direction to greatly reduce those hardships and negative interactions.
Thank you, Lucas. Appreciate it. And I understand you have some invited testimony, is that correct?